Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. Today's conversation isn't about how to win her back with the right words or the perfect text. It's about something deeper. It's about the part of her that still thinks of you at 2 a.m. but won't reach out because she doesn't feel safe yet. Not safe in the way women need to feel to love again. Maybe you sense it, that quiet shift. She's watching your stories again. She's a little less cold in her replies. Her friends still ask you things. There's a softness returning in the way she says your name. But something holds her back, and it's not just fear. It's doubt. Doubt that you've really changed. Doubt that it's not going to be the same cycle all over again. You see, when a woman pulls away, it's not always because she's done. Sometimes it's because she needs to see if you'll finally do the one thing you never could, see her. Not just want her, not chase her, not seduce her, but truly see her heart, her silence, her subtle boundaries, and honor them without needing applause. In this video, we're going to talk about what it actually takes for her to trust you again, not through promises, but through presence, through depth, through becoming the kind of man whose love doesn't just speak. It feels safe to lean into. There's something quiet that happens when a relationship ends but love doesn't. It lingers in the unspoken. In the way her voice trembles when she says, "I'm fine." In the way you scroll past her profile a little too slowly, wondering if she still thinks about you the way you think about her. And if you're honest, you don't want to move on, you want to understand. You want to know what went wrong. You want to know if you still have a chance, and somewhere deep inside you feel it. She's not entirely gone. But before you run back with declarations and promises, pause, because here's the truth: she doesn't need the old you with a new apology. She needs something else. She needs to feel that you've grown in the silence, not just in your words. That your absence taught you something her presence never could. The first shift starts here, learning how to sit in the discomfort of your mistakes without rushing to fix them. That's where trust is rebuilt, not in grand gestures but in quiet self-responsibility. Women are intuitive. She's not waiting for you to say, "I've changed." She's waiting to see if your actions finally speak a language she can trust. And trust doesn't sound like a love song. It sounds like consistency. Maybe she used to tell you the same thing over and over, and you'd nod, only half listening, because you thought love meant showing up, not tuning in. But she needs a man who actually listens, who hears the words underneath the silence, who doesn't interrupt her sadness with solutions, but simply says, "I understand, tell me more." You want her back, start by doing something most men skip. Sit with the version of you that hurt her. Not to shame yourself, but to meet your shadow, to ask, "What was I so afraid of that I couldn't show up fully?" Because until you face that version of yourself, you'll bring the same wounds into the next chapter, even if it's with her. She doesn't need a perfect man. She's not waiting for you to become invincible. She's waiting for the day you finally become honest. Honest about your fears, your avoidance, your pride. She remembers every time she felt alone next to you. She remembers the moments when you pulled away, not because you didn't love her, but because you didn't know how to be vulnerable. And now she's wondering, have you learned? Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's intimacy in its rawest form. And women crave it. Not the performative kind, not tears on command, but the kind of presence that says, "I'm not here to control you. I'm here to connect." That is what makes her body soften. That is what makes her heart start to unfold again. That's the beginning of restoration. Now, restoration isn't about erasing the past. It's about revealing what you've learned from it. Maybe you were emotionally distant. Maybe you used sarcasm as a shield. Maybe you thought being a man meant hiding your tenderness. But now is your moment to rewrite that story, not just for her, but for yourself. It begins when you show up without needing to be right, when you stop defending who you were and start becoming who you want to be. The shift is subtle, but she'll feel it. She'll feel it when your words carry weight because your actions are grounded. She'll feel it when you don't flinch at her emotions, when you don't try to fix her pain, but you hold space for it. That's what makes her pause. That's what makes her wonder, maybe he is different now. You don't have to win her back. You have to win your integrity back, the version of you that leads with truth, not tactics, the version of you who knows that love isn't about convincing, it's about becoming. And if you still feel something between you two, if her silence feels more like a test than a goodbye, then ask yourself, can I give her a reason to feel safe with me again? Not just to love me, but to trust that loving me won't cost her peace this time, because love without peace is exhausting. And if she walked away, it wasn't because she stopped caring. It was because caring became too heavy to carry alone. So maybe the most powerful thing you can do right now isn't chase her, but evolve. Become the man who no longer makes her choose between love and self-respect, between romance and emotional safety, between staying and sacrificing her truth. And when she sees that, when she feels that, that's when the story shifts. Now take a breath with me, because there's more. Much more, and you're ready for it. There's a certain kind of quiet power in a man who no longer performs for love, but instead embodies it. You know what I mean. The kind of man who doesn't use affection as currency, or attention as manipulation, but who simply shows up as he is, because he finally knows who that is. And that's what she needs to see now, not your charm, not your plans, not a recycled version of who you were when things were good. She needs to feel who you are now in the silence between words, in the pauses, in the way you choose to respond, not react. Because the truth is, most men want their woman back for who she made them feel like, how she looked at them, how she believed in them, but rarely do they ask, what did she need that I didn't give? And it's not always the grand things. It's the moment she looked at you and you were scrolling, the time she reached for you in bed and your body tensed, the times she needed reassurance and you thought silence was strength. She doesn't just remember the fights, she remembers the gaps, the absence inside the presence, and that's what made her heart retreat. So if you want to reach her again, not just romantically, but soul to soul, you have to learn a new language. Not French, not Spanish, but emotional fluency. It's in the way you notice the tone underneath her words. It's in the way you no longer take her sensitivity as an attack, but as a signal she's letting you in again. And instead of armoring up, you breathe, you stay, you ask, what are you feeling right now? Without needing her to hurry toward joy just to make you comfortable. And maybe this is uncomfortable for you. Maybe you were taught that being a man means solving, fixing, leading. But she doesn't need a CEO of the relationship. She needs a co-partner in healing, someone who can witness her pain without making it about their own failure. Because the truth is, women don't always need solutions. Sometimes they just need to feel felt. They need to see in your eyes that you're not just hearing their story, you're inside it with them. That when they say, I felt invisible, you don't say, but I was there. You say, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I see it now. That's what shifts something. That's what unravels resentment and starts to sow seeds of trust again. And here's something else. If she still loves you, she's waiting, not just passively, but in her own heart. She's watching from a distance, watching to see if you'll rise from the version of yourself that used to scare her. Not with rage, maybe, but with withdrawal, with silence, with detachment. Emotional abandonment feels like slow grief. You're there, but not present. You smile, but she feels alone. She's wondering, can I trust him to stay this time? Not just physically, but emotionally, energetically, spiritually. She's watching how you carry yourself now, whether you're healing or hiding, whether you're growing or gaming the system to win her attention. Because she doesn't want to be won. She wants to be seen, not for her beauty, not for her body, not even for her role in your life, but for her essence, her values, her fire, her softness, her soul. So show her, not through roses and messages, but in the way you've started respecting your own boundaries. In the way you no longer argue to win, but to understand. In the way you now approach conflict with curiosity, not ego. That's what makes a woman lean in again. That's what makes her heart whisper, maybe, just maybe. You see, trust isn't built by being perfect. It's built by being present fully, especially when it's hard, especially when your instinct says shut down. But you stay open instead. She's not testing you to play games. She's testing you because her nervous system remembers the past, and she's waiting to see if her body can relax around you again. Can she breathe in your arms without holding back a piece of herself, just in case you disappear again? And if that answer becomes yes, then you won't need to beg for her return. She'll find her way back, not because you pursued her, but because you made it safe for her to return. Because in the end, women don't leave when they're unloved, they leave when they feel unseen. And if you can learn to look at her again, not through the lens of guilt or desire, but through awareness and presence, everything begins to change. Stay with me. There's something sacred about the way a woman comes back to love. It's not loud. It's not rushed. It doesn't explode like fireworks. It returns like a tide, slowly, silently, as her heart starts to believe she won't drown this time. But that only happens when she no longer feels like she has to fight to be understood. That's what tired her out the most, not the arguments, not even the break. It was the exhaustion of constantly having to explain herself in a language you didn't know how to hear. And now, in her quiet space, she's wondering if you've finally learned it, because she doesn't want to be your project. She doesn't want you to win her back like it's a competition. She wants to feel that you've stepped into your maturity, that you've started leading your own life with intention, not waiting for her to return so you can feel whole again. You want to know what stirs a woman's soul. It's seeing you create a life that feels grounded, seeing you embrace depth, purpose, emotional wisdom. A man who doesn't abandon himself when things get hard, because that's the man who won't abandon her either. Maybe you thought getting her back would mean saying the right words or showing up outside her door. But if you're listening closely, her silence has been saying something all along. It's been inviting you to evolve, not to change for her, but to finally grow into you. Because the truth is, she doesn't just want to see that you miss her. She wants to see that you've met yourself, that you've spent time in the uncomfortable places she used to point out, and instead of defending them, you've explored them, sat with them, transformed them, and now you walk differently, you speak differently, you even breathe differently. You respond slower, with more awareness, you notice tension before it becomes a storm, you name your fears instead of hiding behind them. You don't wait for love to fix you. You offer love from a place of being already rooted, and when you become that man, she feels it. She may not say it right away. She might still test your consistency, but inside, a part of her starts to thaw. She begins to soften, because you've given her something she can finally rest into. There's no need for games. No need to manipulate. What she wants most isn't grand gestures. It's your emotional sobriety, your steadiness. The quiet knowing that this time you're not chasing love to fill a hole, you're walking toward it with a full cup. You see, real love doesn't beg, it invites, it doesn't demand validation, it offers value. And when a man stops trying to control the outcome and starts showing up as someone who can be trusted with a woman's heart, everything shifts. And no, this doesn't mean bending over backward or becoming a version of yourself that loses boundaries to gain connection. Quite the opposite. It means becoming so aligned with your inner truth that love becomes a gift, not a transaction. That's when your presence becomes magnetic. That's when your words begin to land. That's when she starts to wonder if the door she closed maybe isn't locked forever. So ask yourself, can she feel your stillness now where there used to be chaos? Can she feel your clarity where there used to be confusion? Because a woman wants to know, if I give my heart to him again, will he hold it differently this time? Not tighter, not harder, just more gently, more consciously, more like a man who understands that love is not earned through effort. It's honored through awareness. If you want her to return, don't lure her with nostalgia. Create a new safety for her present self. For the woman she's become in your absence, because she's not the same, and you shouldn't be either. And maybe one day she reaches out, not because you pushed, but because she felt drawn to the silence inside you that feels calm, drawn to the way you now hold space, drawn to the maturity in your voice, the humility in your eyes. That's when she begins to think this man no longer feels like a gamble. Stay close, we're almost there. There's a quiet kind of intimacy that forms when two people who were once torn apart begin to see each other through new eyes. No longer looking for validation but understanding, no longer proving but simply being. That's where reconciliation begins, not with apologies but with presence. Not with fixing what was broken, but becoming someone new in its wake. And here's the truth most men never hear. Sometimes the most powerful way to bring her back isn't with your hands open, but with your life open. To live in a way that invites her, not chases her, to be so aligned with truth that she recognizes this isn't the boy she left behind. This is a man she might trust her heart with again, but if she comes back, and I say if, because this is never guaranteed, it cannot be because she misses who you were. It must be because she feels safe with who you are now. Can she express her truth without your ego getting wounded? Can she speak her fears and watch you stay, without trying to minimize or control her? Can she disagree with you and not fear emotional punishment? These are the real questions her nervous system is asking, even if her mouth says nothing, because love doesn't just grow from connection. It grows from repair, from the small, subtle moments when she sees that you no longer flinch when she cries. That you no longer disappear when conflict rises, that you stay in the room, that you hold her gaze even when the conversation is hard, because your love isn't fragile anymore. And neither are you. This is what maturity feels like. This is the intimacy most people never reach, not because they didn't love deeply, but because they didn't love consciously. And if you never speak again, if she never returns, let this still change you. Let this be the moment you finally decided to break the pattern, not just for her, but for every woman who will ever sit across from you. Let her silence be the mirror that made you grow, because the man who does this work, he doesn't lose. Even if the relationship doesn't return, he walks away with something far more powerful, self-respect. And from that place he becomes magnetic, not because he's playing a role, but because his energy says, I know who I am now. And I know how to love without losing myself. So if you still love her enough to grow, love her enough to become safe, love her enough to stop chasing and start reflecting. And if she comes back, don't greet her with fear or desperation, greet her with calm. Invite her, let her take her time, because the woman who returns doesn't want a performance. She wants proof. Proof that your consistency isn't temporary, proof that your tenderness isn't a tactic, proof that this time the man in front of her knows how to lead with love, not control. And if she does open the door again, step in with presence, with softness, with humility. Hold her not with the grip of someone afraid to lose her, but with the reverence of someone who finally understands what it means to keep her. And if she doesn't, let that become the sacred lesson that transformed you. Because the greatest thing you can give a woman is not a promise to never leave again, it's the reliability of your emotional presence. That's what she wants. That's what she needs. That's what love, real love, requires. So now it's your turn. Who are you becoming in her absence? Speech balloon, if this resonated with you. Tell me what part of your story you're in right now. Are you healing? Are you evolving? Or is she already watching from afar? I want to hear your truth. Red, if this message touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. This is the Intimacy Lab, and remember, real connection starts when we stop performing and start becoming.